Keven Mealamu, welcome to my podcast.
Thanks for having me, Dom. It's, opportunity. Thank you for the opportunity. Thank you for making some time on Friday.
Are you kidding me? No, thank you so much. I bumped into you at a clothing store called As You Were, and I was like, it was probably quite rude of me. The first thing I said was, "Hey, come on my podcast," and then we swapped numbers, and I'm humbled that you're here.
Thank you. I mean, I suppose that's how the best moments happen, when it's just off the cuff, and this is where we end up. So thanks for having me, Dom.
Yeah, I appreciate it. I phoned around different people I've had on the podcast that are former teammates of yours and people that know you to try and get some, dirt or some icebreaker stories. Every single person, to the last man, had nothing but nice words to say about you. This is from Zach Guilford,
yes,
who you played with for a short time.
Yes.
Kev is the nicest guy in the world. I aspire to be a kind soul like him, not an egotistical bone in his body. Literally the nicest guy I've ever played with. No real yarns, sorry, just a top man.
Oh.
And everyone says the same thing about you.
I spent a bit of money just making sure everyone was prepared for the call coming from you, Dom. So,
Yeah.
Oh no, I feel really proud being able to hear that from my peers, my mates. So that's cool. That's cool.
How do you balance being just a super nice guy without being taken advantage of?
I get asked that often. I was talking to someone the other day. We were doing like a discovery piece. There's some work we were doing just about to go on LinkedIn, and they were asking about, this is you as a person, and what do you see as like a fault, or see as something that people wouldn't like about you? And I think that's it. Is like people think I'm too nice, but I always think to myself, Dom, that's my choice. It's my choice to be that way. And I think if you ever saw me play at sport, it's just as easy as crossing the line. That's how it is, So I think people in their minds think probably too nice, but that's a choice. I choose to think that way and treat people that way. But it's just like anything in life. When you cross the line, you cross the line.
Oh yeah, because you were a bad man on the field. Like you hurt people. you were intimidating. You were a ferocious monster on the field.
I like that you said that, Tom, because when most people see me on the road, they're like, "Geez, you're smaller than what that you look like on TV." And I'm like, yeah. Damn it.
No, but I just wonder if it's hard when you are you here today because you want to be here, or you find it hard to say no to things because you are such a nice guy?
I'm all about opportunities in life, and this was a cool opportunity, Dom. Like I've been lucky enough to watch a few of your podcasts, and they of that quality. And so I think being here today is a privilege. And I was working in town today as well, so it just all worked out.
Worked out good.
Yep.
Okay. So you're a Catholic, eh? But
Yes.
have been your entire life.
Yes.
So I was sort of born and raised Catholic as well, but I'm not sort of practicing anymore. But do you go to confession and? You go to confession and stuff?
I'm a Catholic, and sometimes the look I get from our church members are like, do you just come for the special dates for Christmas, for Easter? I had a really cool experience once. The first time I went to Rome and playing in Italy for the first time, our first test match there, and on the way home from team dinner, popped into one of the churches there. And really cool experience. I think when you're growing up, it's one of those things that you never have it as things you can tick off, but actually being a Christian and a Catholic, it's pretty cool. And so popping in there, went in, and they had confession on, so I popped through, and I suppose you don't talk about everything you talk about in confession, but I did say that I was gutted that I couldn't be at church more. And one of the things that the father said to me is, it's in here. It's your relationship that you have with God. So sort of opened up my eyes a little bit. We can't always be at church, but it's where that heart and where your mind is, being grateful, and that is really important to me, and how I have that relationship as well.
That's such a cool story. And were you there with some teammates? Was there like a cluster of All Blacks at the time that were church going?
Oh, there was me that stopped through, and I think Jerry stopped in for a little bit as well.
Jerry Collins.
Yeah, the late Jerry Collins. Rest in peace, yes. So I think in all the teams I've played in, it's probably been a thread that's been there. the whole time. Even when I first started playing, Sir Michael Jones was a big part of my career, especially the start, and Ronnie Clark. So I had some really good guidance from the beginning, and they were just guys that just I think it's really important as we go through our careers, you just being happy, staying with who you are, be true to who you are, right?
Yes. What sort of things what do you have to confess? Is it like losing your temper, or what is it? I just can't imagine you having much to say in that booth.
Oh, Dom, by no way am I perfect, and like every person, every Christian, we have our faults. So that's me just trying to make good with who I am, and just always trying to look to be better. But there are days that it doesn't look like that.
Yeah. Well, how can I or anyone that's watching or listening to this be more like Keven Mealamu?
It's a good question. I actually think just be happy with who you are. I always think of it. We always thought about this as an All Black, which is it used to be a time when we played for the All Blacks, and it was a burden, that pressure. Never winning a World Cup in such a long time. And then having the opportunity to sit down, look at some things, and have a chat about, this is a privileged position we're in. We're getting a chance to represent our country, our family, our friends, and not many people get to do this. So I think just looking at from that lens, it's a cool opportunity. We get the choice. We get to make a choice on how we get to see things, and that's probably where I think people can look to. It's your choice. You get to choose who you are, and if you're happy with who you are, be that person. As a rugby player, as a former All Black, you get criticism, but how you take that, so it's always that lens. I think I have a lens on life. People think it's probably a bit too positive, but that's my choice. That's where I choose to live. Got no time to live in the past or things that are holding me down.
No, I love that so much, and it's like it's working for you, and it's working for everyone around you. As I said, no one has a bad word to say about you. Okay, you're doing something right if the only criticism people can come up with is that you're too nice or you're too positive, right? I think that's a really good thing.
Thank you, Dom. Thank you.
Yeah. So your last game was the Rugby World Cup final in 2015. Same time as Richie McCaw played his last game as well. Actually, a bunch of guys played their last game. So, what does life look like now? How has life looked since then?
Life's been good. It's been challenging as well. I always say, especially if you've been doing something like, people talk about it as when rugby players finish, life's quite hard because you're trying to find your way. But I'd probably challenge him and say it's hard for anyone that's done something and put a lot of time and energy into something for a long time. So the challenge is, I think it's definitely that discovery piece. What do you look like away from your sport or from rugby? And that's probably what I've been working on. That's what life looks like for me. Probably the first part of it was discovering who I am. How do I fit back into family life? How do I fit back into community? Because that changes. You've been a part of a team for such a long time, and the guys that you've played alongside, that's who you see daily, and that changed. Even little things like the things we take for granted, how you take a plate back, and when you live in hotels a lot.
Just put them out the door.
You
can't do that at home.
Walking away from the dinner table and leaving your plate there. Often got a phone at the back of my head. So I think it's these little discovery pieces, just understanding what that looks like. And so for me, being in the fitness industry for the last 10 years, and when we talk about where I've come from in sport, you discover that it's about when you're doing something that's got purpose, that you always do it better. So that working in that industry has given me the chance, given my wife the chance to be able to add value to our community, keeping people moving, building community, because that's meant a whole lot to us. So it's been the fitness industry. It's been working in my brother's security company as well, and watching his success of being a part of helping build that as well. And as of late, as of March this year, an owner and an insurance broker. So Protect for Life is what I'm doing. It's still aligned with all the work that I do, which is around people, looking after them, giving them peace of mind, So I'm really privileged to be working around and alongside some great people, and I'm still on that curve, just constantly trying to be better, have bad days, but hey, get a chance to get up the next day and go back at it again.
Yeah, what does a bad day look like for you?
Well, a bad day might look like when you're day out preparing for Fight for Life, and you find out that you got a heart condition, and that changes everything. It changes one of the things that fill my cup is being able to exercise.
Yeah.
And when you can't do that to the capacity that you enjoy doing that, and you have to look at things a little bit differently, it starts with a bad day, and then you realise that actually I'm still here. I found this out early, and I've got the opportunity to do something about it. Well, that's the other side of it. That's looking through the right lens, I reckon.
Yeah, so are you on like medication for the heart, or do you just watch what you eat, or you can't exercise too hard, or what does it mean?
It means, I'm on medication.
Yep.
Beta blockers and blood thinners, you know. So, obviously they sort of change the chemicals in your body. So every time I look at myself, I'm like, man, that's not where I want to be. And
I don't know. I think you're looking great.
And as always, you're always harder on yourself, right?
Yeah, yeah.
But it's just trying to adjust to that. I don't really want to be on medication for the rest of my life. I want to be able to hopefully look after my diet, my exercise, that I can go and live long lives and enjoy that alongside my wife and kids.
Yeah. So how many fights did you... I didn't know anything about the heart thing, but I did a lot of reading and researching for this. Did you get to fight at all? You were fighting Wairangi Kopu.
Are you talking about fights in the ring?
Yeah. Oh, no, we'll get to all the fights on the field. Actually, you were on the receiving end on most of them. Did you end up getting in a fight in the ring?
No, I because of the medication I'm on, like blood thinners, you can't play any contact sport. Because obviously, the damage...
Too dangerous.
Dangerous, so it's a lot of work that goes into that, Dom. I spent a long time preparing for that because I wanted to do it well, and I had a great coach, Monty Beetham. And he's a taskmaster. He'll put you to your work. But I think I remember doing around 90 rounds in the last week preparing for it. And every time I was driving from and to training, I was just like, what the hell? Why the hell am I doing this? I thought rugby was hard. Doing a sport like boxing where it's just you, man, that's a real test.
Yeah.
So I have a lot of respect for those people.
Yeah. So you didn't make it into the ring?
I didn't make it into the ring, no.
Because you were talking about giving it a real red hot crack for a while, eh? Maybe fighting Paul Gallen, the Australian guy, and...
Yeah, I don't know what I was thinking. I was probably... but, when we talk about what do people's mindsets look like, I'm probably one of those people that if I've got something to work towards, then I'm going to put all my time and energy into that. So I was definitely committed to that.
Yeah, you were. Hey, okay, let's go way back. So you're Samoan, but
yes.
You're born in Tokoroa. So your grandparents move over and they settle in. Geez, they must have been there. When did they move there? They must have been the only Samoans there.
In the 50s as well.
In the 50s?
Yeah, so there's these beautiful big cities, Auckland and Christchurch and Wellington, but they settled in Tokoroa of all places.
Did they have like a job there in the mill, or...?
Yeah, and I think that was primary reason. So my grandfather worked there, and yes, we were one of the first Polynesians in Tokoroa. So, we come from an awesome legacy of grandparents that built communities down there. And so, Granddad worked at the mill, so did my uncles, so did my dad. And so, when I think about some of those things that you learn as you grow up, all those environments you're in, just around good, hard-working people, work hard for their families, want to do the same thing too. And
did you, I don't know if you're the same age, maybe you're a little bit older, but did you know Richard Kahui or Quade Cooper or the At Ease boys?
I'll shamefully say I'm a little bit older than those guys. I did know them in Tokoroa, but I was a little bit older, so I always say that Tokoroa is the biggest town in the world because everyone knows someone, or someone stayed there, or there's, when you look at the amount of athletes that are coming out of talent that's come out of that place, it's been pretty special. Yeah.
And what was your upbringing like? Was it like a strict Samoan upbringing, or...?
Good question, actually. My dad is from Samoa, so probably a little bit more traditional. And my mum was born in New Zealand, so We had the best of both worlds. And
So who was the disciplinarian and who was the one that you went to for cuddles?
I actually think our mum was the disciplinary. It was Dad just took a look. Most people know what your dads look like when you step the line, and then but it was Mum that was having to do the disciplinary because Dad was always he was always hard at work for us. So, but good upbringing.
Yeah.
I think it's one of the centerpieces, one of these pieces that really helped me in my life, helped my siblings as well. Just having great parents. We've had good relationships all through our life with them as well. And unfortunately, we're missing our mum. We lost her around this time last year.
Yeah, July last year.
Yeah, and so life's been really different without her because she was the matriarch of our family. She was the glue. So we spent a lot of time actually with our dad. We're out on the golf course yesterday for his birthday.
How old's he now?
He's 74.
Is he still working?
He just finished. So just before we lost Mum, he was made redundant. And I could never see my dad redundant as well because he was one of those guys up at 4:30, off to work. Just routine, that routine of his life. But now that he's finished, when I talked to him, I said to him, Dad, remember that was you? He goes, yeah, I don't know why I did it for so long, So...
Because I heard a podcast you did, I was listening to this the other day, and it was your dad. He must have been like 70, 71 at the time, and he was still working. And he said to you, like as a pride sort of thing, like, son, I'm still paying the tax man. I'm still paying the tax man, like a badge of honour.
That's it. And
like real pride in the fact he was working.
Oh, and I love that about him. These are some of the it's a thought process, but also the mindset that hopefully we as his children, his grandchildren will take into their lives as well, is that being proud about what you do and what you achieve. I hope we all have that same mindset as him as well.
Yeah, and your mum, she was like a loved and respected kindy teacher?
Yes, she was in an early childcare centre from when we were young as well. And part of our golf day yesterday is, we eventually want to make this golf day into something that we can do some fundraising for early childcare centres because, one of our family businesses is we're still in that as well. Our family do early childcare centre, but one of the most beautiful things I'd seen, Dom, in my time was actually when our mum passed. I had so many people come up to me. Look, a lot of people come up to us and say, I know Luke, your older brother, or I know Kev, but it was the amount of people that I would meet and say, your mum taught me, and these are adults, and she teaches my kids as well. So she's left behind a huge legacy, and as her son and as her person that she's left behind, we're trying to carry on that legacy for her.
Yeah. Yep. What was it diabetes?
Mum had a few complications actually, and I think diabetes may have been one of it. So yeah, it's quite hard adjusting when you're just so used to having that love and support around you, and just I always say she was one of those people that she's never judging people. You could go to her with any problem and just someone that listened and never was listening to answer your question, just listening. So she was amazing in my life. Yeah, we miss her heaps.
Oh, I can tell.
Yeah.
I saw a post you put on Instagram with a photo of your mum. It must have been maybe on the 1 year anniversary. And you used the line of the Ed Sheeran song that I wish that heaven had visiting hours.
Yes.
Yeah. Mate, I'm so sorry for your loss. I can't imagine the hole it left.
Yeah, thank you, Dom.
Yeah.
I really appreciate it. Yeah.
How's your dad? Is he all right?
I think he's doing as well as can be.
Yeah.
That was his best friend. And I still remember him saying to me, now that I'm finished work, now that I'm retired, these are the days I'm supposed to be spending with your mum. So I think, what that installs into us is that we're making the most of every day, We're not promised here. So why wait until you retire to have these good days? Just try and have more of them, more days that you can remember, good days.
I love that, Kev. That's such good attitude. Can you remember your last conversation with her, or? Were you there when she passed?
I was. Funny story, actually, is that she first went into hospital. She had a fall at daycare at the centre, and she had to go into Middlemore, and this was the time of the lockdown. So Auckland was locked down. You couldn't move around. But I managed to get into the hospital.
Yeah. Did you say, do you put the All Black kit on? Did you say, do you know who I am?
I'm not one to splash my name out, but that was going to be the only time that I was going to use it to get in to see Mum. So, and it worked. And when they eventually found out, what are you doing here? I eventually got kicked out, but I managed to be in there and be there for Mum on behalf of our family. And that was hard. But having those conversations, there's conversations you have with your parents when it's just you and Mum or Dad. There's probably things that you don't need to share, but everyone knows that you have those conversations that they'll stay with you for life. And those are some special moments. Yep.
It's been like just a year and a bit now. How long was it before you could talk about it without getting emotional?
Oh, I can still feel myself golfing at the moment. Yeah.
I think that says a lot about like showing emotion about that. I think it says a lot about the relationship you had and just how much you miss her and how much she means to you. I think it's a cool thing, right?
Yes, most definitely, and especially for our kids and all our grandchildren, because we lost our grandparents early. Yeah, we lost them. Actually, I lost my grandparents like in their 60s, and when I was young, you used to think that was old.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
And as you get older, you go, man, we've missed out on a lot. So, I think, it always. I can still feel my heart cracking a little bit when we talk about it, but I know there are many other people that have been through the same thing as well. Yeah. Yep.
Well, thanks for sharing that. While we're on your mum, I read in an interview somewhere she described you as a little boy as being mischievous. Were you? And it's hard to imagine anything about Keven Mealamu being mischievous. What did she mean? Were you a naughty kid, or was it just like standard little boy stuff?
Well, definitions of naughty, right? So I always think, if we're playing cricket in the backyard, hit the tennis ball and it's in the gutter, would be the one to climb the roof, go up the side fence, onto the roof, jumping off the side of the house, those sort of things, smashing windows, then trying to go to sleep early before Dad finished work so he wouldn't get in trouble.
Oh, did you used to get the wait until your father gets home? Oh, bro, I used to get that too. And then by the time Dad would get home from work, I'd forgotten what I was even in trouble for.
I used to hate that. And it was always the same too. It was always me and my brother, because we were so always outside. It broke a lot of things at home,
Mate, I can see parallels. Like me and my little brother, and we'd play sport, and it'd always end up in fights. And something about like the glass windows in the 70s and 80s, it was really thin. They were really. You hit a tennis ball against a window, and it would break.
And you still remember it was always slow motion. You just see it going towards the window. You're like, no, and then it just dawns on you, Dad's going to be home in 2 hours' time. Oh my goodness. So.
Yeah, I suppose she was right. You were sneaking into Middlemore to see her. That was mischievous.
That was one I had to do. I had to do that. It's one of those moments where you're just like, family, I'm going to do this. I don't like doing it. I don't like... Yeah. Yeah. We made it happen.
So, that's cool. And I bet you don't regret that at all. That's really cool. Yeah. So, yes. Oh, yes. So you were there when she passed?
And then she passed. We were all there.
Okay.
We were all in. We were lucky enough to have family in.
Oh, that's nice.
So, she came home for her last couple of days, and just I don't know. She wasn't awake, but there was just as she walked in the door, she opened her eyes and was happy to be home. That's where she wanted to be, in her own house. So she had all her family and friends around. Had us all around, so it was probably special moment for us. Yeah.
Oh, that's cool. So you guys moved from Tokoroa to Auckland. How old were you then?
I think I was 14.
Right.
So
What was that like? It's a big adjustment, hey?
I didn't want to move, to be honest, you know, because that's where all my friends were, we were comfortable. But I always think, you know, forward-thinking parents we have, you know, Polynesian as well, and they were asking us, they sat us down and said, you know, what do you think about moving to Auckland? And we were just thinking about friends and things that were comfortable. They were thinking about our future. So, yeah, as tough as it was moving early, we quickly found friends, found like this. Yeah, this is home for us as well. Yeah.
And were you good at rugby then?
Yeah, I played a little bit of rugby when I did a bit of representing for Waikato and South Waikato when I was growing up. So I always had this aspiration to want to play for the All Blacks. Dom, I know a lot of people talk about wanting to do that, but I'm one of the real lucky, blessed people that have been able to follow it through.
Oh, not just follow it through. You were greedy. You hogged that jersey for a long time.
And it's absolute privilege. You know, I wanted to make sure I could do that well. So.
And you did. So why? So after school you got an apprenticeship as a sign writer.
Yep. So
were you weren't like straight out of school into like professional rugby or a super team or?
I remember actually when I finished school because I was a loose forward. I was a number 7. I was an open side flanker growing up, and as I was I missed out a couple of years in my last year on a couple of teams, and they just said, "You're not going to make it any further in this position." And maybe I heard this wrong. I did go to one trial, and I thought in my head that he said, "You won't make it any further. You won't make it any further." He probably said, "You won't make it any further as a number 7," but I took it the other way. You're not going to make it any further. So, you know, when we talk about drivers, that's probably one of them. That was one of the drivers that actually, well, I'm going to show you something different.
Oh, fuel to motivate you.
Oh, big time.
Yeah. And then you made it into the Chiefs. That was your first super team?
No, I played 2 years at the Blues actually.
Right.
And
okay.
it was my 3rd year. But I think I was just being dragged along on my teammates' coattails. You know, I was happy to be there because I was playing alongside some of the guys I'd watched from high school. So when you're in that environment and when you're seeing these guys that you've looked up to, you're in awe quite a bit. It's quite easy to...
Like who? Drop some of these names.
Oh, like Ronnie Clark was still playing. I was playing alongside Craig Dowd. Just imagine having him as your prop. Leo Lafauli'i, Charles Rookerman, so they were... Man, I feel bad because I know I'm leaving some out. But Craig Innes, there's Junior Tunu'u. There were guys that actually, they were part of this Blues era where they were unstoppable. And now that I was playing alongside them, I'll unashamedly say that I was turning up to training like, I can't believe this, you know?
Oh, like feeling like an imposter. Right,
big time.
Yeah.
Big time.
Wow, that's so cool. Okay, look, we're on the rugby stuff, so let's talk about that. So first of all, like, what is the job of a hooker?
Thank you.
Can you see that question again?
Oh yeah. What is the role of a hooker?
It's a good question. There's core roles. Every hooker should know how to throw the ball in.
For the line out. Yeah. It's a big responsibility.
It is a big responsibility. Know how to hook a ball in a scrum, so know how to scrummage as well. But then there's all these other parts to it, which is that's just part of being a rugby player. Run, tackle, pass, get over the ball, contest the ball. It's really quite simple, but actually hard to execute. So I can tell you for sure that I was one of those guys that really struggled in here with throwing the ball in. I knew skill-wise I could throw the ball, but there were moments in games actually that really tested, I'd say this and this, you know. So every time I see hookers that have probably had 2 or 3 bad throws in a row, I understand what they're going through. I know what they're thinking about. I've been to the dairy and had my dairy owner say to me, "Kev, you just have to throw the ball in." And I'm saying, yeah, I just want to get some milk. But Dom, it's the little things like that people don't really think about. A player would carry that on their shoulder. You'd carry that on your shoulder. Just, it's a little chirp, but it's still on your shoulder when you're going about your job. You just have to throw the ball in straight. You got one, It's a throwaway line. It doesn't mean anything to anyone. But just imagine if it's 2 people and then 3 people have said that, or you've seen something in the paper, then it just looks a little bit bigger on your shoulder. So it's just, I have a lot of time and empathy for guys that are throwing the ball on, because it's often their fault, isn't it?
But on reflection, I don't know if I'll get much of an answer out of you for this one, because you are just so modest. But modesty aside, like on reflection, what was it that made you so good for so long? So like a combination of natural talent and hard work, or what was it? Because you were there. How many? 133 tests.
132.
132
Yes.
tests. Yeah, it's crazy. You were there for like 12 years, 13 years.
It's a good question.
4 Rugby World Cup campaigns. You didn't win the first 2, but
Yes.
you did win the second 2. Like, it's a crazy long career.
I think there's a couple of things to that. Maybe if I just look from outside, from what I was lucky enough to do, my support, the people that were around me, family, especially my family, that was just like this the whole time. So whatever I was going through in rugby, they were, no judgment, come home, had a bad game, it's all good, better next week. So that's a strong piece of who I am. So I understand that support piece was really big. But maybe for me, I think where it really changed for me is I always talk to our young people about purpose. So when I went down to play for the Chiefs, I was in the middle of building a house, or unfinished. I had a house that was unfinished, and my wife was carrying our son, Samuel. So, and as I'm out mowing the lawns, she comes to me with the phone, and it's coach, and I'm expecting him to say get ready for pre-season, but he tells me I'm not being selected this year. These are the things you need to work on, and my heart drops, because I know I haven't got a job anymore, and I've got all these things that I need to. I've got my family I need to look after.
Yeah.
I've got a house that's unfinished. So when the opportunity from the Chiefs comes within the day, I work my butt off. I realise that I've just been cruising here. And by the end of the year, I'll become an All Black. There's just put a lot of hard work and dedication to it. So when I get a chance to reflect back and look, what was the difference here? I was on the verge of losing everything. I wasn't going to be able to do my job as a dad, as a husband. So purpose comes down to purpose. What's your purpose? What's your drive? Family for me. The other part to it as well, Dom, I think is people talk about it. It's hard getting there, but it's harder staying there. But my time as an All Black, we always talked about what legacy you're going to leave behind. What do you want them talking about this team that's here today? I think that's what drives you to be better. Want to be pioneers, want to be able to do things that haven't been done before. We hadn't won a World Cup in about 20 odd years, and no team had gone back to back before we did. So wanting to be pioneers, I think, is something that really drove me to, am I doing the right thing every day? Am I training at the right level? Does that display the values of someone that, or a team that want to do that? So purpose, and what are you going to leave behind? What's your legacy? Yeah.
God, mate, I've got goosebumps.
Oh, cool.
There's some good. There's some good takeaways in that one. Yeah. So So your debut you took from the Chiefs. So your debut was November 23rd, 2002. Were you sort of expecting to be named? Like, had you had a really good super season and you were like, your name was being thrown around, or was it a surprise? How did you find out?
This is showing my age a little bit, Dom, because we had just finished winning the NPC with Auckland. Yeah. And we're in Waiheke celebrating with all our families. But I heard my name over a transistor radio.
I know what that is. There'll be a lot of people listening to this or watching this, maybe under the age of 30, that will have no idea. So that's cool. So this is pre-smartphones.
This is pre, yeah. It was.
Like an actual transistor.
Yeah, it was, and so quite a special moment actually. And I didn't think I'd hear my name. Like I'd had a good super season and also NPC, but I'd missed out. You know, I'd had to go down to the Chiefs to play, so I didn't actually in my mind think that I would be an All Black by the end of the year. Cool story about that though. Dom is, you know, when you talk about when you're lucky enough to play in some of these teams, you're catching the end of some awesome eras, and then you're just seeing the beginnings of some awesome careers. I was on Jonah Lomu's last tour as an All Black, Christian Cullen as well. And when I think about these players, you might not know that, some of our viewers might not know them, but if you're from our era and if they had YouTube back now, man, if they had access to what we've seen, you'd understand the magnitude of that. Yeah.
Oh, everyone knows about those guys.
Yes.
Oh my God, that's amazing. So yeah, and Richie only made the team like a year before you, so he was a young fellow as well. Yeah, wow, Jonah. So how intimidating was that? What were you like? I'd imagine that a young Keven Mealamu would be quite a shy guy. Did you speak to anybody? Like, what was your first couple of weeks in All Black camp like?
Oh, actually, it was pretty good actually. I had some good mates on that. I had Bradley Mika, first tour as well, and even Daniel Braid was over there with me as well. So we had an awesome team. Just good bunch of guys over there. Really enjoyed having them with you because it's quite a new space to be a part of. But no, I really enjoyed it. I was like a kid in a candy store.
Mm.
You know, if you've seen an All Black where they kit you out, imagine that for you, especially your first one. Holy heck!
You said it like it's all free. What is this? Who was was that John Mitchell, the coach? Was
John Mitchell?
Right. So he was
Robbie Deans, yeah.
Yeah.
And good coaches. Like people always ask me, who's the best coach you had? It's hard to say because there's so many. They're all good. You just take these bits and pieces you take out of everyone.
Yeah, I was thinking about that the other day because I've got Cully coming over next week for a podcast, and
Legend.
And I was thinking about you being here today and Cully coming in next week, and it's like John Mitchell's obviously a special coach to you because he selected you and you became an All Black under him. He was the guy that was the coach that sort of ended Cully's international career, so his relationship is probably quite different. And I suppose that's just the path of a coach, isn't it? You're gonna make dreams for people, but you're also gonna break some people's hearts.
Oh, I've had those tough conversations with coaches as well. Every player wants to be the person that's out there from the beginning of the game. As a hooker, you want to be the one that runs out in the number 2. But as I was through my career, we're transitioning through a 15-man game into a 22, 23-man game, where the bench actually they weren't there just to be on the bench if someone couldn't finish a game. They're actually part of the game plan. How do you finish a game well? How do you bring on this energy that is part of winning games? So I've had those conversations asking coaches, what can I do to be the starter out there? And them coming back to me with what you can do off the bench. That's what our team needs. And it just goes in one ear and straight out the other. Cause no, that's not what I want to hear.
Wrong answer. Who was that? Was that Steve Hansen or was that Steve?
It was Steve. So
yeah. Sorry, Steve. Wrong answer.
But those are the conversations, and there's obviously lessons that you go through in your career that you go, oh, okay, I understand. I've had a couple of those games where actually, firstly, man, if you're sitting on the bench for the All Blacks, who gets to do that? Secondly, you got an opportunity to do something. So when you get on there, you better be ready. So actually, just looking, we were talking about lens earlier. When you've got a better lens on things, well, I've still got a chance to contribute to the team. And it's still at a meaningful time. Back end of the game is where games are won. And, man, what a privilege it is to be an All Black. Not everyone gets to do that, right?
Most of us. Not everyone. Most of us don't. Yeah. Oh, did you not like did it sort of like hurt your pride or something when you were an impact player because you just wanted to do the whole 80 minutes?
Oh yeah, well just when you've been a starter for a long time.
Does it feel like a downgrade or something?
Well, it did back then.
Yeah.
It was just usually the best people start, right?
Mm.
And so before it was a 22, 23 man game, it wasn't really about playing to what your strengths are as a team. It was just usually the best 15 start. Yeah.
Mm. So, yes, you, as I mentioned before, you're involved in 4 World Cups. So 2003, 2007, both losses, and then 2011, 2015, both wins. So you got the bad ones out of the way. 2007 is a particularly memorable one, mainly for that photo of Ted, Graham Henry, and Richie. And Richie's, everyone thought he was crying, but I think he was just wiping sweat off his brow or something. But the photo captured that moment. What was that like? That day, that moment, where you kicked out of the Rugby World Cup. Is it still quite vivid to you?
Probably so, because it was our earliest exit out of the World Cup as well.
Mm.
I'd say every World Cup that a All Black team goes to, you're probably pipped to be the favourites or close to that. So what comes with that is a lot of expectation. And then thinking back to that moment, we were out of the World Cup, and the team's got to go home the next day. If you're out of the World Cup, next day you're on the next plane out.
Face the music.
Face the music. So we'd put a lot of work in, done things really different. We took the beginning of the Super Rugby off to condition ourselves, but we were missing probably one of the main ingredients, which is play rugby.
Mm.
So we were these good athletes, better athletes than what we'd ever been, but good rugby players play rugby week in, week out. You understand the different nuances of rugby, which is game plans, technical, tactical, these things you can't do when you're not playing rugby. So yeah, it was a disappointing moment for us because we know we'd let ourselves down. But then when you have to come back home to 3 million people and say,
yeah, what was
you're
that?
home a week early, 2 weeks early.
What was that homecoming like? You avoid going to the dairy to buy milk?
Well, I think this is probably one of those moments where you're just like, man, is going to the airport, going onto your flight, and there's like Kiwis coming past you, going, where the hell are you guys going? They're coming over to watch semis and finals. So, yeah, that's a hard moment.
Mm. But I feel like you've got quite a good perspective on things. Like you've got your cornerstones of your life. Like your family's important, your religion's important. So I feel like you're. I don't know what I'm basing this on, but I feel like you're able to sort of see rugby for what it is. It's just a game. It's not a matter of life and death. Would that be fair, or did it feel at the time like it is a matter of life and death?
Yeah, in the moment.
Yeah.
I think when you're going through certain parts of your career, you think it's the be-all and end-all. I do remember sitting at Sunday lunch, and this is something we always do, the whole family, all our siblings and grandchildren and parents will be there. But I remember saying to Dad, just asked how my week was, and my head was down, didn't play well. Game didn't turn out, we got thumped on the weekend, and I just asked Dad, how was your day? And he goes, yeah, no, normal week, up at 4 o'clock getting ready for work. And just all dawns on you, like, yeah. Stop being a dickhead, and for me to stop being a dickhead and actually pull your head in. So,
yeah, perspective, Perspective. You got a gift, for your 100th test. Like your teammates chipped in, and they got you like a custom made ring. It looks like something the Mad Butcher would wear.
Yes.
Where's that? I noticed you're not wearing it. Is it just too? Is it too showy for you to wear?
I think it's really cool actually. And I actually haven't had the chance to wear it out, but this was my teammates really thinking of me because they knew I loved the NFL, and when you win an NFL
like a Super Bowl,
you get Super Bowl rings. So as flashy as it looks, it's got some really nice pieces around it. It's got a cross on it. It's got my All Black number. It's got my kids' initials on it. It's quite flashy looking, but they put a lot of time to put some really cool meaning into it. Yeah, it's just a bit flash to walk around with every day.
Yeah, do you have much in the way of memorabilia? Like, you've got World Cup medals, obviously, two gold World Cup medals. Where are they? Like, do you have a cabinet? Are they on display or anything, or are they in a drawer?
This is the funny thing, Dom, because things rust. They lose their shine, and that it's the memories that really stay with you. I've got a lot of memorabilia. But the wifey's kicked it out of the house, it's like, this doesn't look good, all your jerseys don't look good in the house, so it's in the garage, it's in the barn.
Like in boxes.
In boxes.
Oh, Kiwi.
But, I think that's the memories you carry with them. Mm-hmm. They are objects, and, obviously they're always used for cool things like fundraisers and that. But for me, it's all the memories that I take away from them.
Oh yeah,
they're stacked in here.
Yeah, that is true. The memories are. Yeah, I sold a house recently. It was a house that I lived in for 20 years, and I went through a lot there. And I was quite emotional when it came to selling it. But then I, reminded myself that the memories actually stay with you. They're not actually part of the house. It's just a property.
Yes.
How many of your jerseys have you got left? I feel like people would ask you for a jersey for a charity auction, and you just give it up.
There's a lot of jerseys in 132.
Yeah, that's a lot of auctions.
No, I've still got a few at home actually, and I've got a lot of jerseys from opponents I played against. So it's just cool bringing them out every now and then, having a look, and it's a privilege to be able to share them with people, which is fundraisers or trying to do some stuff in our community. So. Yeah.
Is there like one particular one that you'd never part with, like for your first test or your 100th or a World Cup final?
I've still got my 100th and been lucky enough to share that with, give that to family. So actually, I don't have any jersey in specific because, I always think it was the people that helped get me there. Thank you.
Oh my God, you are the nicest guy ever.
You know what I mean though.
Yeah,
Don't,
I know.
I think most people, they see an end product and think it is what it is. But when we talk about perspective and who helps get you there, man, my village or my tribe or I'd say island is huge. Family and friends. So and that's the way I felt throughout my whole life and career. Just the support I've been lucky enough to have behind me. Yeah, we roll deep.
Yeah. Are you quite connected to your Samoan roots and culture?
I am.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's actually awesome you bring that up, Dom. It's probably one of the things, if I'm being totally vulnerable with everyone, is one of the things I know I've really let myself down on is not being able to speak my language, speak Samoan fluently. And it's something I wish I had done earlier, and I can blame growing up in Tokoro, there wasn't many people to talk to, but it's something as I go through life, I'm still open to learning, but I'm gutted I didn't learn my language. And beginning of the year I had the chance to take the member of the speaker for the Parliament of Samoa, take him through All Black experience, just him and his team.
Awesome.
It was totally awesome, but I couldn't sleep that night because I was thinking to myself, how am I gonna, how do I greet properly, respectfully, and do this properly? So even when I was driving all the way in, I was just like, man, I feel like I'm letting down my family, because as I walk in there, you carry your family name as well. So I was just. And it wasn't until I get to like Spaghetti Junctions, almost there, I was just like, oh well, you're just going to have to accept me for who I am. I'm a proud Samoan. I'm gutted I can't speak Samoan fluently, but I'm proud of my roots. So yeah, that's where I walked in. I had an awesome time.
Yeah,
they were amazing. So
you can't beat yourself up too much about that.
I was.
Yeah,
sweating, couldn't sleep.
There was something that I didn't know existed, but I saw an interview with Richard Kahui, and he talked about something called a little black book, and you presented him a little black book.
Yes.
What's the little black book? I've never ever heard about this before in terms of the the All Black legacy.
I'd say just broadly it's probably like a manual, but just with a bit more purpose and meaning behind it. it's I think it just gives an opportunity for players to know what's come before them, what it means to be playing for the All Blacks, and then there's I suppose there's a bit in there as well where how are you gonna add to this legacy as well. So it's quite special, and there's some things that they should stay unspoken about, because it's just the special things that everything gets shared these days, but it's probably one thing that an All Black has that's just for them.
So is that why I've never heard about it? You never hear anyone sort of speak about it, but it's sort of like so there's some text in there, and then is it like a journal and you write?
Yep, there's definitely parts to it, the journal at the back, but it just shows where we've come from, where we are today, where we're going, or what were you leaving this jersey.
Jeez, you must have gone through a few of them. 133 tests. You need to add some more pages in or something.
Yeah, and a lot of it's up here, but there's special moments.
Yeah.
When I journal heaps, so I got heaps of like journals at home or sketchbooks as well. That's another passion of mine. But just when you go over things that you've been able to write down, it's always awesome when you go back and this is where I was at this time in my life. This is where my thoughts were. Yeah, they're pretty cool to go over those sort of things,
Yeah, I heard that about you with journaling. Like you've been doing this since you were like a kid. Since what age? When did you start journaling?
I suppose it's not journaling when you're young, but I was been in part of rugby for a long time, so writing out your goals, how you're going to do them, how long is it going to take. I think these things are really important because thoughts come and go. Once it's on paper, it's with you. You can put it up. You can share it. You've got a reference point. So I always encourage people to do that.
Yeah.
Because once people say no, it's all up here. Comes and goes.
Yeah. So do you like journal daily now?
Not daily,
No.
but they're just moments where I just thinking about things that inspire me, things that I know I want to keep this because it's a gem. If I'm trying to find that inspiration in my life, sometimes it's nice to write it down. Where do I want to go? Who do I want to be? How do I do it?
Yeah, and you mentioned the drawing as well. Like, your art is really good. I mentioned before, like you were training to be a sign writer.
Yes.
You've illustrated kids' books and stuff. And drawing, is it something you find quite cathartic? It's something you did to like calm the nerves when you were on tour and stuff.
Yes, well, Dom and my family, you're either a sports person or you're artistic, sports or arts. And I think I sort of fell into both a little bit. So I love art. Doesn't mean I'm good at it.
Oh, I disagree. You're being very modest. I think it's good work.
But in my family, I can see those two threads really clear. We've got a huge artistic, musical part to our family, but also the love for sport and community in there. So, yeah, that's been a big part of who I am. Yeah.
Are you quite musical as well? I saw some. I've got some All Black book, and there's a photo of you in the back seat with Richie and a couple of others. And it looks like you're holding a guitar.
Yeah, I wish I was better, but I did learn to play the guitar on tour. Nemea Tialata was my music teacher, and because front row is always, most of the time they are rooming together, and he was awesome. Just like people that can listen to a song and just learn to play it. That was him.
Unreal.
So yeah, if I wanted to play a song, I'd play it to him. He'd pick up all the chords. Kev, this is it. And so yeah, it was probably one of the cool parts. It's also, I think about rugby as well. Music's a big part of before and after rugby, When you're preparing for rugby, it's that part that gets you in the right mindset. But then after, it's that part where you bond. So you can imagine what a playlist looks like from an All Black group, because City Slickers through to Farmers, there's everything in between as well. So yeah.
Yeah. What are you into? What was your sort of hype music? What sort of genre?
Oh, I was definitely getting ready for games was hip hop, and then as I got older, it turned into R&B. Turning up, I felt myself being overhyped going into games, which I think served me well as a youngster. But then as I got older, it's like I just need to be a lot more clearer, and I just need to be more level going into games. So my music mellowed out heaps as I got older.
Yeah, your very first All Black game. So yeah, what's that experience like? Like, are you nervous? Is it just excitement? And if you are nervous, are you nervous about being hurt? Are you just nervous about not playing to your potential and not getting another chance? Like, what's that experience like? I'd imagine. God, I'm just trying to place myself in that position. I think I'd feel sick with worry, sick with stress.
It was a good training week. We prepared really well, and I'd been away on tour for 3 games. England first, France, but I never got on. And then I started against Wales. And if you've ever been to Cardiff and seen, I don't know if it's called Millennium Stadium anymore, but that stadium holds 80,000 people. It feels like they sit on top of you. So as you're coming down the tunnel, a little bit different to some of our venues that quite long, they go straight up. So everyone's looking over, they're on top of the ground. So it's a huge moment walking out with an All Black jersey. And I totally understand when people say you feel like you've got armour on, you've got bulletproof vest on. Because if I'm lucky to say 5'10", I felt like I was 6'3" when I was walking out. It's just that pride that you have on your chest, the opportunity you have going through the anthem and then doing the haka. It's all the things that you've seen in life, everything that I wanted to be able to achieve and do. And then whistle goes and you're straight into it, and then you don't really think about these moments. You're just in rugby, doing rugby, if that makes sense. So the lead up is quite emotional. Once you're in rugby, you're just doing what you love to do.
Just muscle memory. But just at a much more intense level, I'd imagine. Do you feel the level of intensity rise immediately? Because I suppose before then, the biggest level you would have played at would be like Super Rugby.
That's it. And I looked across. I was playing against a wily old vet, Robin McBride. He looked like a wily vet. And when I played against him, he was that person. He was that. All right, this is your introduction to international,
the big boys.
To the big boys. So it was a privilege to play against him, and but he set the standard. It was bloody high. So yeah. And
if you make like a bad mistake on the field, if you do something that I suppose. What springs to mind is Stephen Donald, and were you there when he played that game, and then he became like public enemy #1 for a while? And was it a game in like Japan or somewhere? And the All Blacks lost to Australia, and
I think it was in Hong Kong.
Right, Hong Kong, yeah,
Yep.
yeah. And someone put a bullet in his letterbox after he got back. So that's an extreme example. But say you're playing and you have not a great game. What do you get? What happens after that? Like, do you get a dressing down from the coaches or anyone, or are you everyone leaves you alone because they know that you haven't met your own personal expectations, or is the main fear about what people are going to say online or in the media? What happens?
Well, Dom, I can say I've pretty much seen it all, because I started back in 2000 or 2002 as an All Black all the way through to 2015. So the approach, there's a lot of different approaches in there. Probably the one, I think, for me as a player, probably the one that hurts the most is when they don't talk to you. Because usually when someone gives you a spray and then everything's good again.
Yeah,
it's
ripping
praise,
the band-aid off.
Yeah, and if it's praise, then you feel good. But when let's just say a coach walks past you, doesn't say anything, that's like when when your dad says, "I'm disappointed." That's worse than getting a hiding, right? It's like, so yeah. Oh, I think I've seen it all, to be honest.
So it just varies from coach to coach?
It varies. Well, most definitely. Everyone's got a different approach to things. And that works, I can understand. Being in a team, for some people, different approaches work. It's not one size fits all.
Okay, let's can we just talk about some of the I suppose like negative stuff or stuff that happened? But by the way, like, not that you ever really did anything wrong. I think a lot of these you were just the victim in these things. So there was a guy from the Lions that was sent home after biting your finger.
Yes.
Yeah. What was that like, having your finger bitten? He was saying that you hooked your finger in his mouth or something, so that he got sent home in disgrace. Is that a painful injury, or you're a tough bugger?
No, just in the moment, actually. And it's the first time we're playing against the Lions as well, so there's like a lot of emotion flying, and being a part of those series, because they don't come around very often, so if you're a part of it, it's quite a special time. And I know we might view it as negative, but it's just how things pan out, similar to Brian O'Driscoll, which is in the first test match and accidentally gets tip-tackled, lands on his shoulder, and then can't play the rest of the series.
Yeah, Tanarumangering yourself. Yeah. Completely accidental, but yeah, nasty.
And it's just, things just happen like that. There's no malice or meaning in behind it. Things just happen. So, and the same thing with biting of the finger. Things just happen. There's nothing personal or that, but it happened. So.
That's a weird one though, as far as injuries go, like being bitten on the finger. Did you need any treatment or anything, or you just play on, or?
No, it was just bite marks, but nothing. No finger dangling,
Any other weird injuries? That you like the French went on for a while, like for grabbing testicles and things.
Yeah, I think it's probably one of the things I remember from my first tour was seeing Jonah running down the sideline, and one of the Lucy's was trying to tackle him, but he was only hanging on by the ball. So I think I've seen the picture somewhere, just like.
Jeez, you'd hope it was like the dick rather than the balls. Technically, that sounds painful. Okay, what about there was a clip I saw online. I think it was on YouTube of you being looks like it was in South Africa, and someone hits you on the head with a water bottle. So you're on the field, and I thought it was a kid initially, but it looks like an old guy. Yeah. What happened there? That was weird.
It was weird. I think we had just scored in the corner. It was the end of the game. We played in Pretoria. It's a tough place to play. Like, altitude's hard enough, but their supporters are really passionate up there as well. So I think we lost to the Bulls, but we scored a try at the end. And as I was walking back with Rene Ranger, I think scored the try in the corner. Feel like a bang in the back of the head. Look back and someone thrown a water bottle at me, and I didn't realise at the moment, because when you get that red mist, you don't really see much. But I did see a guy doing that, and as I got closer, it was an old man.
Yeah, because it's funny, because you say the red mist, but and you look really fired up and indignant, which it's totally fair enough. But had you reacted badly, I mean, shit, would have been terrible, right?
Yeah, well,
how do you stay in control? Like, because you're this imposing guy on the field, and you, as I said at the start, you're a savage on the field. But then for something like that, you have to switch it off immediately.
Yeah,
like, you can't cross that line.
That's it. I think just as I got closer, I just realised how old he was. but then it doesn't matter put aside the age, you're still accountable for what you do, right?
Yeah.
So I was just hearing these different voices in my head. Do something. Don't do it. He's too old. So one hand was like, yeah, do something. The other hand was like, no. But yeah, it's funny how all these things happen. I suppose when you play a lot of games, there's a lot of these experiences.
Yeah. Oh, and there was the other one. Who was the Australian guy that punched you in the face?
Oh, my good mate Brendan Cannon.
Yeah, like punch you like right in the face. Yeah. What was the story with that? What happened in the lead up to that? How did that happen?
It was a terrible day, terrible weather for a test match in Wellington, and I just think it was probably of the days where it was a lot closer between us and Australia, so the tension's probably a little bit higher. But also, it must have been a bit of banter going throughout the week, so everything's just a little bit more tense. And he sees me on the side of the ruck. He's got a hand on me. I flick his hand off. He flicks it back, and then I just thought we were in that era where you don't throw punches, and he just cracked me right in the middle of the. I've still got the mark here actually to to show it, but he cracks me in the middle of the head, and I stand there going, people ask, why didn't you fall down? Because I was in shock. I was like, I can't believe you punched me. So we stand in exchange for a few. We both get sent off at the same time. And the bloody bugger, when we have to get stitched up, both of us, when we're in the same room and we just got one of those like dividers between us, goes, "Hey Kev, how's the family?" I was trying to find like a table to throw over the... And funny enough, we're still good mates. He messaged me yesterday. We're catching up down at the All Blacks Wallabies game down in Wellington. So this is the beauty of rugby, where things happen on the field, off the field.
That's amazing. Yeah, but in that moment, how did you not why didn't you retaliate? I feel like the instinctual thing to do would be to throw a punch back.
Oh yeah, I did throw a couple back.
Oh, did you?
I did. But yeah, that, and like you said, it's probably instinct. You don't sort of think about what if will I get sent off. It's that instinctual part of playing rugby or playing contact sport. But yeah, that's probably one of the moments where we both could have handled ourselves better.
Especially him. He started it. The O'Driscoll thing that you mentioned before, like, I mean, as we've established, you're one of the nicest guys imaginable, and you've got an impeccable record. But something like that, where your conduct gets called into questions, was that one of the hardest chapters of your career?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
This is just probably an action that, like we said, rugby happens like this. You get ridiculed, or that becomes, people see you as that you're that type of person. And as a sports person, you can't take on too much of what people think, because it starts to get dangerous when we're talking about performing on the field and what you're thinking about and stuff. But yeah, it's going to Ireland and getting a few side looks and getting a few nice words. It's not nice, but you just got to deal with it. So
yeah, you're all good with O'Driscoll. Have you seen him in the years past?
I was at one of the Hong Kong Sevens that I went to when I finished playing. Went there, and I was just part of my role when I was New Zealand Rugby Ambassador. I was over there doing some work for them, and staying at the hotel, go down for breakfast, and looking, there's no spare seats left, and I see him sitting at the breakfast, sitting at breakfast, and he's like, "Do you want to come and sit with me?" So yeah, water under the bridge. Like I said, rugby's rugby. There's things that happen on the field, and we had a good chat. Never talked about what happened on the field. But those are those moments where you're like, oh, good to have these. They sort of just put a into a story, Yeah.
I like that. And Richie McCaw and yourself, he started like a year. Your careers basically ran parallel, didn't they? So he started like a year before you, but you both ended at the exact same time after the 2015 Rugby World Cup. And I've heard stories about him. Getting back onto the bus after the game on the way back to the hotel with his kit still on, because he knew that when he took it off, it was going to be the last time he took it off. What was that like for you? Was that sort of like a special occasion, a special week? Obviously, you won the World Cup. But yeah, it must be a weird week after you've been in that jersey for 132 times. Do you spend the week thinking, oh, this is the last time I'm going to be presented this jersey? This is the last time I'm going to, put the boots on? Yeah, it must be a surreal week.
Yes and no.
Mm-hmm.
Because we know from experiences that we've seen and things that have been shared with you is that if you allow your mind to drift there, it's quite dangerous for what that means or how you perform for the team, especially in big games like this. And so I can tell you from my point of view, I'm not too sure for Richie, can't speak for Richie, but that week is spent making sure it looks no different to any other week. You don't let your mind drift. You can't afford to. You're doing your team a disservice when you're thinking about you as an individual. This is my last game. It's never me. So doing your part for the team, making sure that I'm prepared, means I have to treat this like how I prepare for a test match, which is making sure I'm prepared. When I go on, I can do my role really well. Time for reflection, that comes after we finish the game.
Yeah.
After we are lucky enough to take the cup home.
Yeah.
There's time to do that with family and friends and talk about, man, this ride was awesome. We achieved this. We did this. We took our family away and did these things. But you don't let it affect, especially when you're preparing for such a big match. It's just your mind's got to be in that moment, preparing well.
Mm. Yeah, and you guys seem to have a really good relationship. I was flicking through his book yesterday, and he right the way through the book, he only ever refers to you as Kevi, yeah, which is really nice. What did you have a nickname for him?
Skip.
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 Right, that's very respectful.
Oh yeah, and even today when we still see him, still Skip.
Mm.
And I think that's what made him such a great captain. One of the best is just the respect that he had from everyone, and that usually comes from the way someone carries himself. Definitely when there's parts to a week where things need to be said, didn't need to say much, but he would show us every time. Dom, I can tell you in our last year of being All Blacks, actually all the way through and up until our last week of training, last training week, he's always the first one on the field. Mm. You can imagine what his body's been through, how many times he's trained, what he's taken his body through, but he was out before everyone else. And his warm-up, Dom, he'd be doing like hundreds. We'd all be like, he'd be out there running hundreds like he was running a Bronco. so he always, that part of it is where he really got his respect from everyone, just led really well. Yeah.
Amazing. Oh, that kind words. Yeah, who are you still like, I think that maybe this was in Richie's movie or Dan's movie, but it was one of their movies. Dan was talking about how the only conversations he ever had with Richie were about rugby. Yeah, were you the same? Was he just when he's in that environment, is he just focused on rugby and nothing else?
He was a pretty focused man. That's why he was so successful.
Yeah, right.
But no, I mean, I think we can build some really good trust. We build next level teams. Is sometimes you just need to go a little bit deeper, and doesn't mean you go too deep where you can't get yourself out. But you just got to have conversations that mean a little bit more than the game, because that's where you get to understand people better. That's where you have better connections. So I just think those parts are really important. Just going a little bit deeper. What are things that are important to you? Yeah, and so we would have those conversations outside rugby, which I think were really cool. And although we had different backgrounds, we still the same things meant a lot to us. Our parents, our family. Why are we doing this? What do we want to leave behind? So yeah.
Yeah, who was the instigator in that? Were you sort of the instigator of those chats? Because I fully agree with what you're saying. It's called there's a name for it. It's called like a vulnerability exchange.
Yes.
But someone in any friend group has to be the instigator, the person that takes the brave step and has the vulnerable conversation first. I feel like that would be you in most situations.
Yeah, I agree, because I know the value of it.
Yeah.
So, yeah, and it just sometimes when you don't know people well, you just need something that you can be on the same line or same page with. So I'll definitely spend the time to go a little bit deeper, just so there's a better connection there. Yeah.
Brilliant. What do you miss and don't you miss about it?
I sort of do miss the contact.
Oh, really? The physicality?
Physicality.
Do you?
I don't miss the soreness the next day. but
yeah, you must have been in pain the next day. Like, were you hobbling around for a couple of days after each game?
It's just, you know, if you haven't done the recovery right, it's just you're offset the rest of the week, because you're trying to get yourself ready to go again. And if you haven't done that well, you always end up starting the week. It starts later in the week, So, as you get on and you start knowing your body better, you spend a lot more time making sure that it's ready to go each week. But I don't know, it's why I say the contact is because that's what makes contact sport, rugby, league, those are really important, because there's a certain level of trust that you have with your teammates. If I'm in a scrum, I got two props next to me and everyone else that's in that scrum, we're pretty much looking after each other at the same time. Because if someone doesn't do their job, that can be quite fatal. So that's probably the parts that I think are that build great teams, and what I miss is that being tight with a team, doing whatever we needed to do to make sure the team did well, And a lot of that is contact.
Yeah. A lot of it for you was contact. Yeah. You may miss it. Your opponents sure as hell don't, I bet. Were you quite a social guy? Do you drink or no?
A little bit.
Yeah.
I'm not a
massive
drinker,
yeah.
but I didn't drink at all when I first started my career. Then I met my wife. She's a wine drinker, still is, and I just learnt, because I'd always seen one side of things, drinking, people going off their face, sort of looking at a different lens, and then I sort of realised with my wife, it's just you can have social drink and enjoy each other's company without having to go
too far.
Yeah. There's definitely nights for that. Definitely have nights for that, but I always had this perception that's what it looked like.
Is she? I'm a wine drinker too. Is she red or white?
She's red.
Right.
Yeah.
Oh, same here.
Yep.
Oh my God, it's great with food, isn't it? It's so good.
Great with food, great with company.
Yeah. Hey, let's talk about your wife. So, Ty.
Yes.
Yeah. So, how long have you guys been married? Like 25 years? 23
years.
23 years.
Yes.
Yeah. What's the key to success? Just do as you're told.
I think there's different seasons to marriage, and it definitely takes a lot of giving and sharing, and there's a lot to it, Dom, to be honest. But I think that part where we learn to adapt to each other, because as you get older, things change. But being able to keep these connections and keep the love and romance alive, I think it's really important. Hard to talk about on camera, but when those parts, when you understand your partner really well, when you understand what makes him tick, then you've got to make sure you put that into life as well.
Yeah.
Because we're the same but different, if that makes sense. Some things that we're quite similar on, but then there's other things we see differently, which is great.
It's healthy.
So I think that give and take's really important, how you can do that, and then also having good mentors around you, seeing it being done really well. My parents are like that. My in-laws are like that. We've got friends and family that are like that as well, so that also helps on the journey as well.
Yeah, she would have seen like every side of Keven Mealamu imaginable. Yeah, like are you able to raise your voice? Like, do you ever have an argument?
I do.
Yeah.
I do that, and apologies, hun. I'm sorry when I do that. And you're right. They see the best
Everything.
sides of us, but they also see when we're at our worst as well. And to say that she's still here with me speaks volumes.
Absolutely. But you're such a romantic, aren't you? If you follow you on Instagram, you're always upping her and giving her shout outs and stuff and writing beautiful captions.
Oh, she's amazing. Dom. I've caught. I don't know how to say this. If you're fishing, you caught a whale, but I've caught the best in the.
You don't say you caught a whale.
I haven't caught a whale, but I've caught the
big fish.
I caught the big fish.
Yeah, even that sounds offensive.
Yes, sorry. Yeah, I've caught the best.
Yeah,
caught the best.
So you guys met. I saw a photo of you early in your relationship. You look quite small. Like, you bulked out a lot later in your career. So you're quite young. You're like 19. And you're playing NPC for Auckland, and you're down in Dunedin.
Yes.
And you meet her at a bar.
Yep.
And it's like love at first sight over a crowded room, or
pretty much.
Yeah.
Just like how it happens in a movie, actually. And she was probably one of the things I remember. She was wearing like a leather jacket with a dragon on the back. In Dunedin.
It was the last century,
call.
right?
Yeah. And and it was the last call.
Yeah, last.
So. It's definitely one of those moments where you just, it's a long time ago, but it's vivid. It's really clear, and it almost looks like a movie scene,
Yeah, and is it true that it's the same bar where her parents met?
It is. Very cool that we met at the same bar that her parents met at.
It's crazy. It's crazy. And she wasn't starstruck or anything. She had no idea who you were, apparently.
She didn't watch rugby.
Yeah.
Actually didn't come to a game. His sister did, came to the game, Auckland, Otago. And, but yeah, she didn't follow rugby, so I must have done pretty well.
And then how long were you doing the long distance thing for?
We did it for a couple of years, maybe for about a year and a half, and then, yep, she had been making a few trips up. Actually, Dom, this is a good story actually. So I met her in '99, and at the end of '99, I had a good NPC season, so I was sent away for the Legends, New Zealand Legends. And some of the guys in that team were backups for the Rugby World Cup over in England and France. But as I was going over in that team, I was the only one that was a non-professional. Everyone else was professional playing Super Rugby. So I spent quite a bit of money bringing her up to Auckland, and for that time for us to spend together. And when it was time to go away on that trip, it wasn't a paid trip, so I had a flights and that accommodation paid for, but you had to sort of pretty much take care of yourself over there. And we're driving to Sky City. This is where the team's meeting before we go. And Dad goes, how much are you taking over, son? And I just said, I'm taking over $500 for a couple of weeks, New Zealand, to go to UK, go stay in England. And he was so fired up. He was like, what have you done with your money? And I couldn't say, obviously, been flying tie up.
Yeah.
But he was so furious. And I could see that. I can see that now as a dad too. It's like, ah. And actually, you can imagine what Dad would have been like.
Bro.
So he was blowing me up. But then I did get a call from him just before I left, and he just said, son, have a safe trip. We'll see you when you get back. But over there, this is why I always believe in looking after our young players. While I was over there, we were watching the All Blacks lose to France. We were watching at a pub, and obviously that I didn't want to be there for too long, so I called a taxi home, and that was most of the money I took over.
For the taxi?
When I was looking at the taxi trip going up, and I was like, oh. So most of that trip, I was on skin and bones, to be honest. And you don't reach out to someone and say, oh, have you got a...
Yeah, can I borrow a handy? Or, yeah. So,
yeah, most of that trip, I was having the coffee and biscuits that they have in the room.
Actually?
Actually, because, sometimes I go, oh, you guys go out and find your own lunch, or go and find your own dinner. And I was like, ugh.
You're just too embarrassed, or...?
Oh, yeah, I wasn't going to ask anyone.
Too shy?
Both, and that's not me too. Usually I try and figure it out myself. And so every time we have new players in the team and we're away on tour, I always make sure, let's go out to lunch. I'm taking you out to lunch. Which is a good team builder anyway.
Yeah.
But you just never know, especially for a young person that's coming to a team.
That story seems very believable, because I heard another story about you. So this is early in the relationship with your wife. So you'd sent her from Auckland to Dunedin like a single rose every week. Is that true, or?
Can I just ask where you got the source from?
I can never reveal my source. No, I think I read it online somewhere. Maybe it was a Woman's Weekly story or a Woman's Day story.
Quite possibly.
You sent her a rose every week, and then you at that time you were I think you were living. You're living in South, maybe you're working in Papataui or somewhere, and you'd have to walk the 8 or 9 kilometres to work because you had no money to pay for taxis or petrol or anything, because you spent all your money on roses.
And I used to have a 10-speed, those bikes that used to have tread like that, and always flat tyre. So I spent most of my time walking the bike home. But it's I probably, when I look back at it now, those are the investments I've invested into a relationship, and
So it's true. That's so romantic.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah.
It's probably what we should be doing, right?
Yeah.
And I probably need to do more of it now, when I think about it now, Dom, actually. As life's gotten on, thanks for reminding me. It's probably something I need to do more of now. Yeah.
No worries. Man, this is a great chat. You're such a good dude. One thing I've realised, I'm 51 now. You're what, 45?
Yes.
Yeah, no one gets to the privilege of making it to our age in life without going through some sort of tough times or adversity.
Yes.
So, what's it been for you? What's some of the biggest challenges you've gone through?
I think I mentioned a couple in there, which is just around having to provide for family, and possibly some of the career stuff is tough when you think about it, but then everything in perspective. Sometimes not as big as what you think, eh?
At the time it seems
at the
like
time
it's
it seems
everything.
big.
You look back and
then you look back and go, man, why did I let that hound me?
I suppose especially in a job, like if you're lucky enough to make the All Blacks and you're playing for the country, and there's so much of a public buy-in, so it must just at times feel like the whole world's against you.
Yeah, I think probably, and it's not just like one event. It's just that constant. Am I doing enough? So, am I doing enough to make sure my family are all right? I'm okay. I love, and I was talking to a good friend this morning just around, we love doing things for other people. And brother's big on making sure you got to do some self-care. So maybe it's not the one event, but it's constantly asking myself, am I doing enough? Am I doing enough as hubby? Am I doing enough as dad? Am I doing enough for others? I'm constantly asking that. So there's this, I don't know if it's comparison, but am I doing enough? Asking the question.
Yeah, are you good at like prioritizing yourself sometimes as well?
I would say yes, but I think other people might say no. But it makes me feel good.
Yeah.
It makes me feel good. Fills my cup when I see someone walking away happy. Some people say to me, do you ever get sick of taking photos or signing something for someone? If you know the joy that people get when they walk away, man, I would never get tired of that. It should never make you pissed off or angry when someone comes and asks us for a photo.
Oh no, it's a privilege, right?
It's a privilege, isn't it? You must get it a bit too, right? In all honesty.
Similar amount to you, Kiwi. No. No, it is. It's humbling. Like if someone comes up to me when I'm in a coffee store and says they like the podcast or they comment on different things, it's an absolute honour. I'm completely humbled by it. Yeah, it's cool.
I see it the same way too.
Yeah.
Dom, so it's a privilege that we have, right?
Yep. Absolutely it is. What about your mental health? Has your mental health been good over the years?
I'm still here, and I think I've had challenging moments, and if there was one thing I'd love to share is just being able to have, we talked about what does your support look like. Family's been huge on that. I think, if all of us that have gone through COVID have gone through things, looked at things differently when you've had time to spend more time by yourself, you often start thinking a lot more than you should or have to. So I just think I've been lucky enough to have great people, whether that be my direct family or, or even just, having a brother that I can just talk to about anything. I know now how important that is, having someone that you can have those conversations with,
Have you always been good with that, with the vulnerable conversations, the tough conversations?
I don't think so. But I know how necessary it is. So it's funny, you'll encourage it of other people but won't do it yourself, if that makes sense.
It's right, but it's hard.
That's it.
It's really hard.
That's it.
It's difficult.
Especially, like you said, when people see you a certain way.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying I'm perfect, but, if people say you're a good person, you do all these good things, doesn't mean perfect. Still so many things in life to work on. So I'm not that. I have bad days, and it might not be bad to you, but when I look into myself, I'm just like, oh.
A bad day on the Keven Mealamu scale is perfection for most other people.
But that's what I mean, we will look at it through different lenses, but for me, it might feel like the world's falling down,
Yeah, just because you haven't met your own personal standards.
Yep.
Yeah. And what's your inner voice like? Are you mostly quite kind to yourself? Are you quite hard on yourself?
I think I've learned to be kind on myself, because I know that's that's what allows me to be. That's what allows me to be who I am. If that makes sense.
Mm.
If I want to project that, then I've got to know how to do that for myself.
Yeah, because it seems like you've got very high expectations for yourself.
You reckon?
Yeah, really, like just and impossibly high standards, which is a good thing. But as long as you, as long as your inner voice is good. I know, like I'm thinking of some like high performers I've had on the podcast, including like Dame Lisa Carrington,
Yes.
Mealy Kerr, the cricketer, and
Yes.
Michaela Blyde, and they all struggle with it, like the way they speak to themselves internally.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think there's some days, like at the moment, how I was just saying, like I'm on I'm on medication at the moment. I can't train the way I like to. I look at myself in the mirror and go, that's not the person I want to be. And like you might look at me and go, no, you look fine. You just look the same. In my head, I'm just like, man, I don't feel the way. It's not making me feel the way I want to feel, So we still have these conversations in the head. But yeah, it's going to be okay. We'll just slowly build this. We can slowly start doing some things to make sure it happens. So.
Yeah. Oh, thanks for sharing that.
Thank you.
What about legacy? How would you like would you like people to remember you?
Someone who was thoughtful, genuine, generous. I think those probably some of the words that they just came straight to mind.
Kind. Everyone says kind.
Yep. And I spoke with someone yesterday. They said, some people hate kind people.
Who?
Well, it doesn't bother me, you do you, I'll do me.
Yeah. Kev, this has been great. Thank you so much.
I appreciate it. Thank you. And like I said before, thank you for your time. Thank you for the opportunity. It's awesome.
No, mate, it's been an honour to sit with you. And everyone I reached out to that through your playing career that had words to say about you, I can't do anything except echo what they all said. Like, you are just one of a kind. Just being around you want to be more like Keven Mealamu, which I think that's a really cool thing.
I think you're a pretty awesome person as well, Dom.
Keven Mealamu, thanks so much.
Thank you.